I'm always envious of when I hear people pushing themselves to that limit where their body is giving up, but they can't even take on enough oxygen because they're pushing themselves so hard. I never even get anywhere close to that because mentally I just like, this is hard, isn't it? Let's just stop. Life's easier if I just don't do this. I was like, this is amazing. Holy shit. If I'd had this for years, you know, where would I be at now? I just wanted to spread the knowledge / wisdom / failure, depending how you look at it, or it's all of them, right? / success, it's all of them. What just came to me right now, I just had an inspiration to talk about the daily struggle of writing. And, you know, even if, as I proclaim, I love it, I've said in the past that I could do it every day for the rest of my life. It makes me happy, it's fulfilling, but at the same time it is super difficult, especially when there's breaks in routine. It takes me a good few weeks to get into a good, smooth, efficient routine where I can be writing 4 hours plus a day. And being someone who travels quite a lot, my routine is disrupted quite a lot because I have to restart the routine, get the ball rolling so many times. I've actually come to understand it quite well over the years, whereas way back in the day I'd never get a routine going, you know what I mean? It was just sporadic writing sessions and they wouldn't last very long, and then I'd just forget about it, not get around to it again for a long time. But since I've like really dedicated myself to it, I've realized that, you know, say if I arrive in a new place and I'm like, okay, my number one goal is to write here. I'm not going to do anything else. The priority is write. It can still take up to 3 weeks. Like even after I've been doing this for years, it can still take up to 3 weeks to get into full sprint, if you like, full speed. And it's really interesting. Yeah, I don't know if this is a symptom of ADHD or just something that is difficult, but I always think of it like exercise in a way. Like it's like my stamina gets reset. So say if I arrive somewhere and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna write every day now, you know, and I'll take myself to a cafe, or normally I have to do that for the first few weeks, especially I have to be outside of my room, my space, because I just get immediately distracted by, you know, going on YouTube, whatever it is, just social media, like talking to people. So first of all, I take myself out to a different environment where it just feels like this is where I'm here to write, you know, then I don't as easily end up just in a wormhole on YouTube. But even then, it's like my stamina is reset to zero. It's like going to the gym for the first time after months or years off, and you just get on that treadmill and you're like, you can only do so much. And for me, it's not even like, to just carry on with that analogy, it's not even like it's my cardio that fails me. It's the mental part. It's doing 5 minutes on the treadmill and just being like, fuck, this is hard. You know, it's not like my lungs are actually struggling maybe. It's not like my legs I'm not about to collapse. I'm not that far. I can't even mentally push myself that far. I'm always envious of when I hear people pushing themselves to that limit where their body is giving up, but they can't even take on enough oxygen because they're pushing themselves so hard. I never even get anywhere close to that because mentally I just like, this is hard, isn't it? Like, let's just stop. Life's easier if I just don't do this. It's quite mentally tough for a few days, but then even once I'm in it, it can just be difficult depending on what it is I'm doing. Rewriting is especially hard because you're looking over old stuff and it's like you might want to move stuff around. My brain is, I love flowing. I just love writing new stuff, you know? So anything that's not that is more challenging to me mentally. It just takes more cognitive work, you know what I mean? Probably for everybody. Because by definition, flowing is not work. It's you're in the zone. So editing, rewriting, all that kind of stuff, looking over plot and outlining, it can just be very demanding. And if I'm not mentally strong, if I've been reset, I will, you know, every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes, whatever it is, you know, it's not on a specific time, but let's just say it happens at the 5 minute point. Let's say it happens at the 20 minute point and the 45 minute point. At each of those points, it's me going, fuck, this is difficult, this isn't fun. And that's where the impulses just come rushing in to go and do anything else. And if I'm at home, if I'm in my room trying to write, that's where it's immediately game over because the bed's right there. I just immediately stop writing and I will go and get in bed, not to sleep necessarily, but just to be comfortable, because suddenly when I'm in those moments of, you know, oh my God, this is difficult, I'll be like, this chair is fucking uncomfortable. Let's go sit over there and write in the bed. It's more comfortable. And then it's 5 minutes later, let's just watch a bit of YouTube, just have a little break, treat myself, you know what I mean? And it's just this slippery slope down into ending the writing for the day or that session, often the day. But if I'm in a cafe, it's one step easier. If I have those impulses to stop because it's difficult, it's a bit harder to go all the way home. I might not necessarily leave in that moment. I might get through a few of those tough times of where I want to leave or stop. You know, I might have little breaks here and there. I might still get distracted on my phone, start messaging people. You know, I've got various systems to stop being distracted on my phone, like focus mode that blocks the apps. But, you know, depending how much I'm struggling, it's that easy to turn it off, you know, and start messaging people, go on Instagram, whatever. Sometimes that can help, like a little break. Sure, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's not like it's immediately the worst thing, but there's definitely a place a few weeks down the line where things have changed drastically. I'm in the routine. I've built up my mental stamina, as I'm calling it. It's probably a combination of many things, you know. It's slowing down, it's not being as impulsive. I just get better at sitting in that discomfort, you know, just breathe through it, just like a meditation session or something. But over time, as the routine just becomes repeatable, like I'll go to the same cafe every day, for example, I'll come home at the same time, eat my meals at the same time. I'll be reading more rather than spending lots of time on either Instagram or YouTube or Reddit. These are all very short attention span platforms, that constant stimulation that we're all aware of, but it's hard to stop. As I get better at that, that becomes replaced. I get more disciplined with reading when I'm not writing, and that's only good for attention span. It's the same mode as writing, really. It's sitting there, and my attention span will wander for sure when I'm reading constantly, every few lines or every paragraph. Yeah, it's really difficult. I find reading really difficult, especially novels, you know, and I do try and read novels. I try and make myself read novels because they are inspiring, and you never know what you're going to learn or pick up. And some of the distractions, some of my mind wandering is great because it's springboarding off what I've just been inspired by reading. You know, I might just read a line or a paragraph and be like, oh, that makes me think of something I want to write, and I'll go off and write or make notes. But in general, yeah, I just get better at that over the days and weeks. The more consistently I read, the more consistently I resist short-term attention span content. Last year I did finally get my ass around to going to see a psychiatrist, and I did get officially diagnosed with ADHD, specifically the daydream type, which was of no surprise to me. I'd known for a long time, but you know, I got this official diagnosis, and so I've had the option of medication. I had one sort of period of trying it for about 2 months, and one of the first things I noticed was it helped with those moments of struggle, those moments where I would be like, you know, fuck, this is difficult, could do something else. I just noticed, because I did have that thought, sort of, but it was like a hint of that thought. It was like, and then I just carried on. Like, that voice in the background that wanted to give up didn't even really get to say anything, but it was just, there was a hint of the feeling of it. So I thought that was really interesting. I was quite hyped about it. Those first few days, I was like, this is amazing. Holy shit, if I'd had this for years, you know, where would I be at now? All those thoughts that I know I've read enough online that is quite typical, relatable thoughts for anyone who's started ADHD meds. But then I learned the sort of reality of it, you know, that there is a honeymoon phase, or at least there was for me, because then I did take a trip. I did a travel trip that was like a week or two long, just a short one, and then I came back, and my routine was reset. And I carried on the medication for most of that time, even when I didn't really need it. It was just trying to stay on it. That's what they advise, you know, that I don't start and stop. So I stayed on it even when I wasn't writing, when I was just on this holiday. And I came back and I was reset. The medication wasn't just like a magical thing where I was like, I was back to just struggling. And then I had the extra confusion and sort of extra, it felt a bit more of a pile-on of like, I was just quite gutted, you know, because I'd been so hyped on it, thinking it was this magic solution. And I knew, I'm probably exaggerating it a tiny bit, but I was just hyped on it. You know, I was being quite aware. I was journaling about it, even making self-check-in. I was saying to myself, don't think this is a magic thing, you know what I mean? I knew I was already in a good routine when I started the medication. But when the routine got broke and I realized the medication wasn't just this fix all. I was just a bit extra gutted. I was like, nah, you know, like it wouldn't, how nice would that have been, you know? Even though I was keeping myself in check, I was just a bit like, damn. And it made it frustrating, to be honest. It made it frustrating, and then I ended up, I think I stayed on it for another few weeks, another 4 weeks or so. I just got to this point where I wasn't sure if it was helping at all anymore, even though I was getting my routine back in order slowly over the weeks. I was working a job at the same time, a couple of days a week. And I was just at this point where I was like, I ended up drinking coffee again because the medication wasn't making me that alert in the morning, whereas it was at the beginning. And so I was just like, I don't even know if this is helping anymore. I'm back on coffee, because at first when I started the meds, I came off coffee to not have double stimulation. But then I was like, I feel like I'm back to where I was at square one. And square one for me at that point, when I started the medication, was great. I was already in the routine. I was writing consistently. I'd been in that situation for a good few months, so I was good. And then because my routine got broken, I reset. I was like, I'm worse than I was in square one, really. But now I have this medication. So I just decided to stop it. I stopped it and went back to my previous life. There was no crazy difference. I just went back to ordinary coffee, back to my ordinary routine that has its ups and downs. And that was last year, so I then haven't used the medication for a long time, except last week. I had it for about 2 or 3 days, just the end of my time in Sri Lanka. Because in Sri Lanka it was so hot and humid, and I wasn't quite getting the hours in that I wanted. My energy was just a bit low, like especially in the afternoons. It was really tough. So I tried it. I had it for a couple of days, and it did help. Those same things, I noticed those same things. It was helping me just mentally persevere. I think the scientific understanding of that is that the medication is providing dopamine to your brain, or on Ritalin, just not letting dopamine seep away, so you seek more. You know, it depends on the medication. There's different ways, but to simplify, it just means that in those moments where I'm writing and I have a little bit of boredom or frustration or struggle, my brain's not like, okay, let's go get fresh dopamine, fresh excitement. I tried it for a couple of days, maybe 2 weeks ago now in Sri Lanka. First couple of days was really good, and then I got a really bad headache on the third day. Really bad headache. One of the worst headaches I've ever had. And so I wasn't sure if it was to do with that, or I don't know, something I'd eaten, drank, whatever. I'm not sure, or just some random passing thing. But I don't typically get headaches, and so I just stopped. I was like, that's enough of that. And I was moving countries at that time. I came from Sri Lanka to Nepal, so I've just reset anyway, so I knew there was no point just carrying on taking the medication just because. So I've started my routine fresh again. Here we are in Nepal, you know, and I've had a pretty unstable first week just because I've moved accommodations 3 times, but I'm in the one that I'm staying in for a month now. So here's where I'm getting the ball rolling, and I'm just seeing that same pattern. I'm just seeing it where it's like, I'll do 2 hours in the morning, and it's a bit of a struggle. I'm doing okay. Some days are better than others. Some sessions are better than others. Today, this morning, for example, I was quite distracted. I was going on my phone a lot. It's because I recently, you know, set up a newsletter, and I've sent that out to a bunch of people. And so my mind just thinks about that. Where in those tiny gaps of frustration or difficulty, it just, the more I'm doing in life, the more I've got on my mind in general, they just all come rushing in. That's why solitude and very minimal input is great for my writing. And that's why working only on one project helps. Because in the past, when I've been working on, like, I've had the hobby of stand-up comedy at the same time, or other projects, other things, that's all it takes is that tiny moment of like, oh, I could think about this. Like, and I don't even consciously do that. It just comes flooding in, and I'll get distracted with something else. And I know there's people out there that make that work for themselves. I've seen videos on YouTube where people like embrace the chaotic side of it. You know, if you want to jump from project to project, do it, and that's cool. Like, you know, I understand that can be, yeah, great for people. In my situation, I was like that as the default for years, my entire life. And I got to the point nearing 30 where I was like, I'm fucking done with this. I'm not getting anything done. It's just because it's constant. Like it's not just jumping from one project to the other. It's abandoning projects because I see the whole thing as just difficult, whereas the new ideas are shiny and attractive and exciting and filled with dopamine. So yeah, I can see how it can work for some people, and maybe it will work for me again in the future. I don't know. But right now for me, I'm like, I know that I have to keep solitude and or as much as possible. I still do things, but it helps to minimize my life in all the ways. That's just the little bit of a thought on how medication comes into all this. And I've only tried one medication so far as well. It's Ritalin. I've only tried one. I know there's tons out there, and you're supposed to go back to your doctor and let them know how it's all helping. But yeah, I just didn't. The psychiatrist I got was a temporary traveling one who passed through the town where I was. And so I had the consultation, got diagnosed, and then I was left with my GP, essentially, who doesn't know shit about ADHD. He just knew enough to be able to renew the prescription if I wanted it, and that's it. And you know, that's fine. He's a GP. He can't be an expert in everything. But yeah, just the system that I was using in New Zealand, I was kind of left alone. I was like, fuck it. I'll just do it myself like I was before. So who knows, in the future I might get into some kind of proper ongoing relationship with a psychiatrist and try new medications or whatever. We'll see. I'm doing it my own way, like I always have done, which is bringing myself to the edge of the world in Nepal and getting some solitude. Yeah, so the routine is going. Today was quite difficult, but the difference nowadays, now that I've seen the pattern repeat itself over and over the years, the only difference really is that I'm just much kinder to myself about that. I'm not loading on myself with criticism, frustration, like, fuck, why can't I do this? I know now, take it easy. As long as I'm doing a little bit every day, even if it's just half an hour or an hour, yeah, that's good, because I know it's like building a snowball, just rolling it along, build it up over the days and weeks, and before you know it, you'll be rolling a giant boulder down the hill. So my current routine right now is get out, write for a couple of hours in the morning, have lunch, come back, chill for a couple of hours here, an SDR, Yoga Nidra type relaxing meditation, just like a 15-minute thing, which is sort of my like lowest point of energy of the day, normally around 2:30 in the afternoon. I try and make it coincide with that, and then I sort of start my day again in a way. At about 3 o'clock I get going again. I'll make myself a tea, and then I'll read for half an hour, just gets my brain working again, gets my brain just in the world of words and ideas again. And then normally around 3:30, 4 I will try and write for another hour or two. And when I'm in the full rolling snowball boulder part of my life, when it's all going well, this routine is just solid. Write for 3 hours in the morning, 2-hour lunch break that consists of bit of chilling, bit of meditation, bit of reading, and then write again for 2 hours, and then it's dinner time and it's evening chill and whatever else. So that is just when that's going, it's repeatable every day, and it's not difficult. Even when there's difficult sessions, it's just, yeah, I'm coming back to it every day, twice a day. It adds up fast how much you get done. So right now, yeah, I'm on my afternoon break, and I'm going to get back to it in a little bit. I think that's everything I kind of wanted to cover, really. I just had the impulse because of this morning. It was a bit of a difficult session. I actually ended the session earlier, probably about an hour and a half I did, and that was a quite distracted hour and a half. So the actual like amount of proper work I did in that, quite little, to be honest, quite little. But I was there. That's something. I was there. I was sat at the desk in this cafe, and I was there. So yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to spread the knowledge / wisdom / failure, depending how you look at it, or it's all of them, right? / success. It's all of them. Anyway, let's end this now. Hey, so I've just been editing that video, the writing stamina. The metaphor changes from exercise stamina to rolling snowballs, apparently. Not bad for me, talking at length for 20 minutes and I only managed to let a metaphor change once. That's pretty good, it's pretty good. But yeah, I just wanted to add something that I thought, when I was talking about projects, like having one project, that is something I've definitely found to help me. I'm just going to turn around here, the path is disappearing. There's definitely something that I've found to help myself, like keeping one project rather than spreading myself too thin over many. But one like extra detail / I don't know, complication or technique that I ended up doing, just fell into it, was the project of the book became, it's almost like many projects all in one, the way I've been writing. So yeah, I don't know if it truly counts as like only use one project, because yeah, from the very beginning, it was many disparate fragmented pieces that I brought together. So they were all separate projects on some level at the beginning. And then I tried to mold them all into one big blender of a thing. And then various parts of that along the way have been just like a giant sandbox playground for me. So one of the books is set in a meditation retreat. And for the longest time, there was no real story or plot. It was just me in a meditation retreat And I literally just used that as a gigantic sandbox to put anything in there, anything that I would write during the day, any random ideas. I wasn't working on a story or anything like that. I was just writing whatever crazy ideas come to me throughout any day. Do you know what I mean? And so I just fell into that. It's just the way that I ended up having to do it. I couldn't do it any other way, but I don't know whether to give that as advice or something, but I feel like if anyone is like me, kind of ADHD, kind of struggles with like linear projects, like a linear timeline, for example, or struggles with keeping on one project because you just springboard from one to another, I would advise, if you can, find a way to somehow have a project that is like a big playground for you just to throw all sorts of shit in, so you don't have to worry about, I think I'm getting bitten right now, I'm leaving this little area. So you don't have to worry about the things that maybe don't come as naturally to you, the things that are more difficult, like, you know, yeah, figuring out a linear plot and all that kind of thing, you know what I mean? I don't want to say it as advice. I think it helps to start off like that, but it definitely then becomes quite difficult later on when you're like, all right, now I've got to sort this mess out. It's just a gigantic, non-linear mess of chaos of ideas. So it's definitely, you come up against the hard part at some point, but I found it very freeing to have an arena just to throw everything in there for a long time until I found a story. Like it developed over such a long time, and it really was. I know people kind of say this about creativity, and I don't know if I understood it once upon a time, but like, you discover the story. Like, I really felt like I did. I had this giant playground that I put a bunch of stuff in there, and then I would read over it to see what I've got. And then it was like new things would appeal to me, and like I would just discover things, like some accidental connections that I'd be like, oh my God, that seems like I meant to do that. And that's like a story developing, like this mystery evolving kind of thing. And so I would go down that avenue, and yeah, many iterations of that. Yeah, anyway, so I'm just throwing that in there to the blender of, none of this is advice, it's just me understanding my own crazy accidental methods, I guess. Here's the view in Pokhara, Nepal. Since that last video, that was over a month ago now, I think, that I made that video about writing Stamina. I was there in that place for a month, got nice onto my routine. Yeah, little mosquitoes are all over me. God damn it, I've just been blasted. I can feel them all now. I've just been blasted. I went on a little walk just in the little kind of path into long grass, and I could feel little things, but you know, you don't quite know. I bet you I've just had about 30 bites in the course of 4 minutes. God damn. Oh yeah, so the routine was going well, and then I've gone to a village for a week, just put up a vlog about that. It just took longer to get around to this vlog because, yeah, I don't know, it was just me talking. I was like, I don't know if anybody actually wants to watch this. It's just me talking quite in a boring way. But I'm just gonna put it out there anyway. If anyone sees a title about that, they're gonna relate to it and wanna watch it or not. So yeah, it's there for whoever wants it. Oh yeah, an update on the Ritalin. I actually got into a nice routine of having half a tablet in the afternoon. When I get to that second half of my day, the second writing session, I've been having just half a 10 milligram tablet. So it's like I can barely feel it, but it's like having half a coffee or something. It's just enough just to like course me through 2-hour writing session. But actually on the multiple projects front, because I've been editing these videos, you know, I actually found that a really nice secondary hobby to be working on, because I find editing videos really quite easy, like mentally, like the cognitive work is just way less than writing. So in those little times of downtime where before I was like, you know, maybe I'd have an hour of YouTube in the early afternoon or something like that, or in the evening, you know, when I just didn't really feel like capable of doing anything. Like I've just been editing videos all the time. Like, yeah, I'm putting tons of hours into it. And it's not been affecting the writing. So yeah, there's an extra little caveat for working on multiple projects at the same time. I guess whatever works for you. I'm still discovering what works for me. I guess as long as the projects don't distract from each other, and if you've got a priority, you don't want another one to come in and take the spotlight. So this works really well. Like the writing is the priority. It's more difficult, but it's the long-term project. And then video editing is an easier, more just laid back kind of activity to do. And I can do that in the downtime hours that I'm keeping structured and disciplined for the writing. Yeah, okay, over and out.